Paul Yetter will tell you he was meant to be a lawyer. His father and older brother were attorneys in El Paso, and he wanted to follow in their footsteps. So after graduating with a business degree from the University of Texas at El Paso, he went to Columbia Law School in New York City, where he roomed with several other law students. One of those other students would become the U.S. Secretary of Homeland Security, and Jay Johnson has fond memories of Paul.
He was Mr. Health. He's a picture of health, and a Boy Scout. I would, on Friday nights, be wolfing down a pizza and a carton of chocolate milk from the corner grocery store. And Paul, for dinner on a Friday night, this was his version of excitement, would have a bowl of cereal with skim milk.
Johnson says Paul was as dedicated to becoming a lawyer as he was to his own well-being, and that's because he is concerned about the well-being of others. Paul's role model was his father, who went to work every day to help clients who couldn't solve their problems by themselves. After Paul graduated from law school, his wife Patty got a job in Houston, and he was hired by Baker Botts, where he worked with his mentor, Finus Cowan, who now is of counsel at Yetter Coleman. Paul was part of a freshman class of attorneys at Baker Botts that included Houston City Attorney Ronald Lewis. But Lewis says even then, Paul was in a class of his own.
Paul got to the firm, he was instantly recognized as a special talent. And he worked, as I recall, on one of the biggest cases in the firm's history, the Pennzoil versus Texaco case. And he also eventually took over a docket of cases for Houston Lighting and Power Company, which was a prized docket of the law firm.
Paul left Baker Botts in 1997 to start his own law firm. Over the years, he and his firm have pleased a variety of clients. Mick Cantu, Executive Vice President, Chief Legal Officer, and Strategic and Business Development Officer at Houston Methodist, is one of them.
When he approaches matters, and again, it's very matter of fact and very straightforward, which gives a client a sense of confidence in what he's doing. He's not just being loud about a particular issue, and has gotten some very good results for us.
Perhaps the most far-reaching and most impactful results Paul and Yetter Coleman have gotten have been for 12,000 pro bono clients, children in Texas' child welfare system. Paul says the firm was looking to do some meaningful pro bono work, and in 2004, newly hired Dori Kornfeld Goldman and another new attorney at the firm told Paul they'd like to sue the state of Texas.
I think that once we had looked at some of the studies, we had read some reports, we saw that there are really problems here. And honestly, I was such a new lawyer, I didn't really know the difference. I was just pretty idealistic, and I thought, well, there are real problems with Texas foster care, so let's go and change them. Can we make this happen? And Paul said yes. Paul had a vision of how to do it.
That vision led to years of work leading up to MD versus Abbott, which was filed in 2011 by Yetter Coleman, children's advocacy organization Children's Rights, Haynes and Boone, and Canales and Simonson. Sandy Santana, executive director of Children's Rights, says he met Paul at a strategy session for the case. At that time, 55% of caseworkers in Texas' foster care system had caseloads exceeding 30 children. But Santana says Paul recognized simple numbers didn't tell the story.
All of our lawyers were talking about caseworker caseloads and talking about averages, ranges, and numbers, and Paul just stopped everybody and said, wait a minute. Caseloads are so excessive that essentially these kids have no caseworkers. And these caseworkers are the kids' fire alarms, he said. And so there are kids in Texas without fire alarms, and they're getting hurt because of it.
Santana says that analogy, along with Paul's and Yetter Coleman's strategy of having kids tell their own stories, were key to convincing U.S. District Judge Janice Jack that the Texas foster care system was broken. Kristopher Sharp was one of those kids who spoke for himself and other children on the stand. He ended up in the foster care system after a teacher noticed bruises on his body. But going from his family into foster care was going from very bad to worse. He was shuttled from group home to group home where he was imprisoned, medicated, and subjected to sexual abuse.
These types of environments are places where a predator can get in and just do whatever they want because there's nobody checking on you. You don't have any contact with the outside world. go to school on campus, they monitor you on the phone. It's a really bad place to be in.
Eventually, Sharp aged out of the foster care system and ended up living on the streets of Houston. One day he wandered into an admissions fair at the University of Houston downtown, where a counselor told him former foster care children could get free college tuition, and that changed his life. Thanks to Paul Yetter and Yetter Coleman, the desperate lives of thousands of other foster care children will be changed. In 2015, Judge Jack found the state violated the plaintiff's rights to be free from unreasonable risk of harm caused by the state. In 2016, the judge appointed 2 independent special masters to create and oversee reforms to Texas' child welfare system. And in 2017, Governor Greg Abbott called on the Texas legislature to allocate $500 million for a foster care system overhaul. Even though the case was upheld by the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, it still faces challenges. But reforms already are underway.
There's more money in the system now. Caseloads are going to have to decrease in Texas, which means more kids are going to remain safe in the system. Allegations of abuse and neglect are going to be investigated on a timely basis, and kids are going to be protected in the system. The whole structure of the Texas foster care system is going to change because of this lawsuit. I don't know if Paul sees himself as a civil rights lawyer, but he is. His legacy is going to be in the generations of children in Texas that will find stability, healing, care, and what they deserve from a state that has failed them over these many years.